Ladies and gentlemen, we will now bestow the highest honor of the American College of Radiology. We will now add additional names on our most distinguished roster, the recipients of the Gold Medal of the American College of Radiology. To this outstanding group, we add three of our best: Walter J. Curran Jr., Lawrence P. Davis, and Charles D. Williams, all FACR. So now will Dr. Charles D. Williams join me here at the podium? We're coordinating here. We've worked together for years, but this is So Charles D. Williams, MD, FACR, has been a friend of mine for decades. He has focused on pediatric radiology for much of the last 50 years. He's found his passion while working in the Air Force as a physician in the 1960s. After earning an undergraduate degree at Mercer University in Macon, Georgia, Dr. Williams graduated from the Medical College of Georgia in Augusta. He completed a rotating internship at the Medical Center of Central Georgia and a family practice residency at Medical Center of Central Georgia. He went on to complete a radiology residency at Baylor College of Medicine in Houston and served as chief resident from 1972 to 1973. Dr. Williams served as a captain in the United States Air Force from 1968 to 1970. Following this, he was clinical fellow and instructor in pediatric radiology at the University of Florida College of Medicine. In 1974, Dr. Williams began practice with Radiology Associates, where he still practices today. Dr. Williams pioneered the ACR position of the radiologist assistant, and by defining this role, Dr. Williams, in concert with representatives of the ASRT, ARRT, and others, paved the way for radiographers to achieve an advanced level of certification and expand their careers as radiologist extenders, working under radiologist supervision and providing patient care in the diagnostic imaging and interventional environments, while preserving the radiologist's critical role in interpretation. Dr. Williams represented the ACR for a decade in this effort. Throughout his career, Dr. Williams has valued his roles within organized radiology. He has served as president of the Florida Radiological Society from 1997 to 98. He has received its highest honor, the Gold Medal. He served on more than 50 ACR committees, commissions, and task forces, including a term on the Board of Chancellors, where he served as chair of the Commission on Human Resources, and finally as ACR vice president. He continues to serve as an ACR delegate to the AMA. Dr. Williams has published widely in his career, including two very interesting short stories and collections of short stories about growing up in Georgia. If you ask him, he'll tell you about this for a long time. Dr. Williams cites one of his life's greatest honors as working with patients and his fellow physicians. His contributions over a long career have positively impacted communities he serves and the professionals he has worked alongside. But despite all of these professional achievements, I know Charlie would tell you that it all pales in comparison to his pride in his family. I believe 28 of them are here. Is that the right number?
Yes.
28 of them are here. With all that, he has contributed throughout his career to advance pediatric patient care, our profession, the Florida Radiologic Society, and the ACR. It is only fitting that the American College of Radiology present Charles D. Williams, MD, FACR, with our gold medal.
Thank you, Mr. President, Chair of the Board, Board of Chancellors, family, friend, guests, radiologists, and the new fellows. I tell you, when Bill Balling called me, I was just tickled pink. I couldn't believe it. I think it's the greatest honor I've ever gotten, except when my wife Pat agreed to marry me. And so congratulations to all the honorees. And anyway, with Bill, he has been a great chair of the Board of Chancellors, but he's had help through his supportive wife, a true Southern lady that makes him look good. So they tell me I'm limited to 5 minutes. But those of y'all that know me know I can't say good morning in 5 minutes, so. But to the new fellows sitting out there, I remember sitting where you're sitting, and I was thinking, I'd like to get more involved. And if a guy like me from the cotton fields of South Georgia, whose father couldn't read and write, was a sharecropper, whose mama cooked on a wooden stove, we took our baths in a tin tub, whose grandmama wanted me to go off to college to get a dilemma to hang on my wall, can be standing up here, any of y'all can do the same thing. And I want to thank my group, Radiology Associates of Tallahassee, and I think our president, Jim Killis, is here with partner Mary Swain, John Diddlich, and even the editor of the Capital Medical Society, Charlie Moore and his wife, Lynn. I want to thank Radiology Associates for allowing me the time to participate in 50 committees, commissions, task forces, numerous conference calls, to be the luncheon speaker in about 40 states, and some states like Tennessee 7, 8 times because they wanted somebody that spoke English. And states like New York, which is above Atlanta. And I got to meet such wonderful people like Mark Adams and Jacqueline Bellow, Saver Abelson. Pat and I became dear friends, was fond of Roger Hyman. But some states like Texas that were big, where we got to be friends with Stuart Bouchon, Paul Ellenbogen, Mickey Gibito, name dropping. But my point is, if you have a member in your group who's interested in organized radiology, please allot them the time, because it brings returns educationally, politically, and economically. But most of all, it makes life better for our patients. Now, we in radiology have machines that buzz and grind, and we look at the innards from the outside. But what makes ACR great to people? It's a bit like the people here on the stage and the board and like the other honorees. And it's people like my dear friend Larry Miroff and his wife Carol. And I mention spouses because ACR makes all of us part of the spouses part of the family. And you get to associate with such classy and ethical people like Lenny Berlin and Phyllis, and giants like James and Jean Thrall and Carol and Barry Rumack and Bruce Hillman, the editor of JACR. And I have to thank my dear friend and mentor, Van Moore, and his wife Marie. I remember when Van finished his training and he came down, I interviewed him for a job, and he had the good sense to turn me down. And it made me wish I had taken him out to eat besides the catfish pad, I think. And I want to thank the people who wrote wonderful letters of support for me, which included Paul Larson, Kay Lozano, Tom Harrell, Doug Maynard, Jeffrey Smith, Carol Rumack, Cyril Donaldson, James Thrall, Larry Miroff, Stormy Johnson, Tony Hasso, Lenny Berlin, Van Moore, and Mike Raskin. And I thank y'all from the bottom of my heart. But some of the people who have touched my life have passed on, like Gerald Dodd last year, and Ed Singleton. I just wish he was here tonight so I could thank him for not kicking me out of his program. I remember my first day. He was giving a talk and had residents from MD Anderson, University of Texas, in Baylor, and he was showing x-rays of a dwarf. And he made the statement, said, this mama had 6 others just like him. Does anybody know this family? And I raised my hand and asked him if her name was Snow White. And he stopped the conference and said, who are you? I said, I'm Charlie Williams from Moultrie, Georgia. He said, that explains it. And years later, before he died, he wrote me and told me I was his favorite raconteur, and I had to go to the dictionary to look that word up. And others have passed on, like Harvey Neiman, that were great. But you know, they're not dead, who live in lives they leave behind, in whom they have blessed. They live a life again and shall live through the years, and they continue to live on through us after we've been influenced by them. And I have to mention the wonderful ACR staff, and congratulations once again to Mary Jane Donahue. But I have to mention Brad Short and Jim Marson. They were like brothers to me, and There's others which included Jan Cox and Trina Madison, Bill Shields, and of course Frida White and Josh Cooper, and the list goes on. And they helped make ACR great, but they also helped me. And as the chair of the Commission on Human Resources, I was pleased with the relationship ACR built with ASRT, particularly with Christine Lung and Sal Martino, and ARRT with Jerry Reed. And we were able to work with them on the guidelines, so we had input. Then Paul Larson and Paul Ellenbogen and Ed Bluth, they have continued this relationship. And I have to thank FRS. Years ago, over 45 years ago, I attended my first meeting. And there were about 12 there. One Saturday afternoon, we showed cases. They introduced me as this kid from South Georgia whose idea of a 7-course meal was a 6-pack of beer and a plate full of possum. And when I stood up, I said, that's a dead-burn lie. I don't even drink beer. And this past year, we had 62 residents at our meeting, over 300 attendees, and we've had great leaders like Rick Moore and Larry Miroff and Phil Cook and Joe Sergliano, Dan Singer. So we've come a long way, and ACR and FRS have been a great family. My wife Pat and I care deeply about family, and she's made this journey with me, went to every meeting with me, and she's been the glue and the foundation of our family. And I'm so proud and delighted to say our children and grandchildren are here. There's a total of, I think, 28 sitting there, out there. So would y'all stand, please? Thank you. In closing, when I was a young'un, my grandma sat on the front porch of my grandma, and she sang to me, precious memories, how they linger. How they ever flood my soul. I thank y'all for the precious memories.